This video is here to help remind you how we've learned about dividing whole numbers in class. Just a reminder that sometimes when we divide whole numbers, our answer could have a decimal in it. It could end up being a fractional answer. But to begin with, these problems will all have whole numbers. So here's our first example. We've got 10,010 divided by 65. 10,010 is our dividend. It's the number that we will be splitting up. And 65 is our divisor. It's what we're dividing that number by. So to start with, I'm going to set up our box. And I'm going to put our divisor on the outside because we're splitting a number into pieces of size 65. And I will put 10,010 on the inside of that box, our dividend. So I'm going to begin by looking at 65 and seeing how many times 65 can fit into all of the pieces of my dividend. 65 cannot divide into 1, so for a placeholder I'm going to put a 0 there. 65 also cannot divide into 10, so there's another 0. 65 can divide into 100 though. It can divide into 100 one time. So now I'm going to multiply 1 times 65. That is 65. And subtract. Doing this subtraction, 100 subtract 65 leaves me with 35. The next step is I need to bring down whatever number might be next in my dividend. So now I have 351. I'm going to repeat those steps. Now I need to find out how many times 65 can fit into 351. A couple ways to do this. One way is I could skip count by 65s, see how far that gets me. I can also guess and check. For example, I know that 65 multiplied by 10 is 650. So I'm going to guess that 65 can fit into 351 5 times. And I'm going to see how far or how close that guess gets me. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 plus 2 is 32. 325. If I did another 65, it would be too big. So that is correct. 65 fits into 351 5 times. And 5 multiplied by 65 is 325. I'm going to subtract them. That leaves me with 26. And I will bring down the 0. Now again, I need to divide. How many 65s fit into 260? Well, since 65 times 5 got me 325, I'm just going to check what is 65 multiplied by 4, see if that's my right number. 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26. So 65 fits into 260 4 times. That is exactly 260. So when I subtract, I'm left with 0. And the answer to my problem of 10,010 divided by 65 is 154. Another example, 221 divided by 26. Again, I'm going to set up that box. I'm going to fill in my numbers of 26 and 221. 26 does not fit into 2, so I'm going to put a 0 there. 26 does not fit into 22, so I'm going to put a 0 there. So now I'm left with 26 dividing into 221. I know that 26 times 10 is 260, so I'm going to guess 8 and see what happens. So I'm going to do 26 multiplied by 8. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. That's 208. And if I were to add 26 more, it would be too much. So I know that it is 8 times. and 8 multiplied by 26 is 208. Subtract those numbers, and I'm left with 13. Now, unlike the last problem, this problem does not end evenly. I'm left with 13. One option would be I could say that the answer is 8. I have my remainder of 13, and that's 13 out of 26 pieces because my divisor was 26. That would be one option. Another option is I can add a decimal point and a 0 because 221.0 or in 0 tenths is no different than 221. And I can bring down that 0, and now I have 26 dividing into 130. I'm going to guess. Let's try 26 multiplied by 4. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. That gets me 104, but I'm noticing that if I add on another 26, I will get exactly 130. So that took me 5 26s to get exactly 130. 0 remainder, but I have to remember to bring that decimal point up, and I'm getting an answer of 8.5. Using my knowledge of fractions, 13 is half of 26, so 8 and 13 26 is the same as 8 and a half, which is the same as 8.5. So in summary, you want to set up your long division box. That's when you set this up. First things first, you want to divide. Once you get your answer up top, you want to multiply that answer by your divisor. Then you want to subtract your numbers and bring down whatever number might be left up top.